And good afternoon, everyone. Hope your energy levels are high after the lunch break. Now I welcome you to your training in real sense starts. This is your first formal training lecture or orientation lecture. The topic for this one is the overview of PSPCL. Power sector, PSPCL. This lecture will be delivered by Engineer Harjeet Singh ji, EIC retired. Before his retirement, sir was serving as OSD to CMD, sir. So I can 100% guarantee कि जिन्हीं knowledge about PSPCL and power sector सबको लाए इस time भी. There must not be any other officer having the same amount of information at this time in our organization. So साहब तो जिन्हीं knowledge gain कर सकते हो जरूर करो, because I worked twice with him on personal front also. He was my chief engineer when I was in the IT department, and plus we were working together for the PSCB officers club also. So he gives full authority, he gives us the space to make decisions. He's a very well learned, well spoken person. Everybody has high regard for him in the organization, and I feel honored कि तुहाडा जेड़ा 2023 the induction training, the lectures start हो रहे ने, is being started by the faculty of such a high stature. So I request sir to kindly take over. Start.
Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate you all on your appointment as a electrical and civil in Punjab State Power Corporation Limited. It indeed is an honor and matter of pride to be chosen to perform such an onerous job. And I'm sure that your families must also be proud of you. PSPCL is one of the two state companies in the state of Punjab which is looking after power sector. And basically it is like PSPCL is the interface with the consumers. The other company, Punjab State Transmission Corporation Limited, it is looking after 132, 220, 400 kV systems, and 66 kV and below, that is looked after by PSPCL. Now, our consumer base, are you aware how many consumers PSPCL is serving? Any one of you? No idea? We have more than 1 crore consumers. So we are touching almost every household, every family in this state. When I come to the presentation part, I will discuss the exact details. We have more than 1 crore consumers. We have about more than 14,600 megawatt installed capacity. Now, when I say installed capacity, we have tie-ups and we have our own installed units. And we have various mix of consumers. And to cater to these consumers, we have a generation wing, which is headed by Director Generation, who looks after our own generation, state-owned generation, that is thermal power plants and hydel plants and NRSC. As you know, because in this era, when we are talking about zero emissions, NRSC power is becoming very important. Though its nature is not very firm and it has its own problems in operation, that such things you will learn during your service. But it is becoming one of the most important and growing sector. If you see central government policies also, lot of emphasis is given on NRSC development. Now we are talking about, earlier we were having only solar and wind. Now a lot of other things have come up. Okay, of course biomass is one, and then now lot of work is being done on hydrogen. We may soon have hydrogen fired IC engines or hydrogen fuel cell based other technologies. Lot of work is being done in India on hydrogen also. So with this background, I'd like to start my presentation. This is one. मैनू नहीं बहुत ही बढ़िया देख रही है ना, कोई गल नहीं. No, कोई issue नहीं. But how are they? Is it okay? Is it okay for you to see, or you want lights to be switched off? थोड़ी जिहा बंद कर दो, चंगा रहेगा. So, like I said, we are serving 1,05,13,000 consumers. This is the mix of consumers we have. DS mean domestic service. NRS is non-residential, that is commercial supply. Then we have industrial, agriculture, bulk and other, and total is 105.13. So when you see number of consumers being served, we have largely domestic consumers in count. I'm talking about count. When you see connected load, there's another row, second row. Around 15,000 megawatt connected load is DS. 4,800 is NRS. But industrial, which are only constitute 1.54 lakh consumers, their connected load is 11,294. And similarly, agriculture consumers around 14 lakh, they have a connected load of 11,183. If you look at the pie charts, I've prepared this pie chart to give you a view of how share of various categories is in the consumption and vis-a-vis in revenue. If you see, agriculture constitutes 23.44% of consumption amongst various categories, but revenue from this is 20.38. If you see the bottom half of the pie chart, that is heavier part of it, industrial and NRS consumers, they together constitute about 43-44% of consumers, but their contribution to revenue is about 50%. So they are paying consumers. They are paying consumers. Similarly, DS, if you see, though percentage of consumption is, though if we see in count, they may be much more, but if we see in consumption pattern, it forms only 29.84% of our consumption, but revenue from DS consumers is 26.57. Total revenue, this is 22-23, that is 37,450 crores. This is the size of the company we are talking. So our company per year is earning a revenue, say, you can say maybe this year it will be 39,000 crores. I'm not sure of the figures. I don't have those figures. But this is the size of our revenue. We are dealing with 1 crore consumers, whole of the state. 38,000 crores is revenue. And energy that we in 22-23 we have used, that is 58,709 MUs. That MU is million units. 1 unit is kilowatt hours. These are million units. This is per annum we are consuming. Megawatt is instantaneous and MU is a cumulative power consumption. To help us serve this, I have the next slide, installed capacity. Installed capacity, like I said, is 14,626 megawatts. Our own hydro, 1015, own thermal, 1760. Then we have hydro from BBMB. Then we have generation from NRSC, new and renewable sources of energy. Then we are purchasing power from central sector. It comprises of various other sources. And then we have NRSC outside the state. This is the installed capacity. Now, like the earlier pie chart, I have made another pie chart here. One is installed capacity, other is the energy supplied. So we have, though percentage of installed capacity may be different, but energy supplied has different percentage. This, I'd like to make you aware. I think you already are aware. पता है सारे के ABT, how the electricity prices are being done. Any one of you have idea? कि मैं cost, as consumer, I pay once in a month, once in 2 months. But as utility, power rates are changing every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, power is changing. Every 15 minutes, your schedule is changing. Every 15 minutes, your requirement becomes different. So, when such a dynamic situation is there, we at many point of time are not able to match our generation with the demand. So to fill that gap, I have provided, we purchase on short-term basis. We are also purchasing on long-term basis, but nowadays it is possible. We have a power exchange. There are already 2 power exchanges are there. Our PPR section, they place their requirement, and then they have their algorithms and they derive at a price. A market clearing price is there. At that market clearing price, you get the power. Sometime it is possible that I have scheduled tomorrow for some 10,000-12,000 megawatt and suddenly rain comes. Or due to some other reason, demand is less. So we sell also. For every 15-minute block, you can purchase and sell power. But now when we are managing this dynamic system, what happens at any given point of time, like supposing one of my units at Rajpura, we have, before I explain that, I'll give you a brief detail of how things stand there. In thermal sector, we have our own thermal plants, like I said, 1,760 megawatt. Then we have 3 IPPs. One at Rajpura, Nabha Power Limited. They are having 2 units of 700 megawatt. They are supplying us, they have a contract with us of 30 megawatts. Similarly, there is another farm at Talwandi Sabo Power Limited. They are supplying us, having a contract capacity of 18,080 megawatt. And third one is at Goindwal GVK. They are having 2 units of 270 each. BHEL make 270 units. And they have a contract of around 391 megawatts with us. So when you have so many type of powers and demand is changing, somebody is to make a decision that because all these sources have different costs. So to decide at any given point of time which power source is to be utilized is decided by merit order dispatch. We have developed our merit order based on the running cost. So whichever unit is the cheapest, that is run first, and then so on and so forth. So it is a very dynamic situation, and people have to take instantaneous decision and manage the system. Managing the power system is really a challenge. It really is a challenge because we are all technical people. We understand that except though people are talking about battery energy storage system now, but power as per se cannot be stored straight away. We have only very limited avenues available. Okay, one is batteries there. Now people are talking about pump storage, that is hydel plant. When you have surplus energy, you run pump and pump the water back, and when there is more demand for the power, then you, with that water, you run your turbine and generate power. That is one possibility, though we do not have any such units here in our state, but that is one possibility is there. So when we cannot store power, it is very important. These days, earlier when we were having earlier scenarios when even availability based tariff was not there. There were times when there was no such thing, availability based tariff. Our frequency used to vary a lot. I'd like to share, when I was at the level of assistant engineer, I was working at Bhatinda Thermal Power Station. There was one protection for the generator, that if your generator frequency is below 48.5 Hertz, after 2 hours, unit will trip. And the main job of the fellow sitting on the desk was to bypass the tripping so that the unit doesn't trip. I mean, we were working in that scenario when against a specified norm of 50 Hertz, 50 cycles per second, we were continuously running at 48.5. Because that is the only scenario when you have demand is more and generation was less. But now those things have changed. With this ABT regime and other controls that now we have here, lot of discipline is there in the grid. Now I have never even seen frequency below 49.5. You can see it has improved so much. Voltage has improved. Earlier we used to have typical problems, frequency less and voltage high. All your auxiliaries running on tripping value. But now as development is taking place, the new market structure has come with intervention of IT and other new technologies. We have a scenario, at least our grid discipline has improved a lot. So another thing that I wanted to share with you, when I said we have our generation sources within the state and we also have generation sources outside the state. So when you have a generation source outside the state, you need to bring it to your state. That is your capacity to transmit power that is generated outside the state to consumers using power in the state. That is a very important value that I have shown. Right now we have available transmission capacity of 9,000 megawatt. If any of your units goes off the grid and you need power, you have a market, you can purchase from exchange. But if you do not have the corridor, you cannot. You just cannot use that. You have your resources, everything is available. So this capacity is very important and very critical, particularly to meet peak demands. We are trying to build this. This is actually responsibility of our sister organization PSPCL. They are working on this. There are very few things which we can also improve, but majority of the work regarding ATC is done by PSPCL. Another constraint that this PSPCL is having right now is that at 220 kV level, it is very difficult to run the system. That is why when any of the 220 kV unit trips, we have a lot of problems. We have to even go in for restrictions. Though this has not happened this year, in the previous year we used to have. those problems. If our own generating plant, like those generating within the state at 400 kV, if that unit trips, we are somehow can manage if we have ATC. But 220, there's no substitute. That is why now a lot of stress is being given on development of ATC. So if you see for 14,000 megawatt and around 68,000 MU, if you see straight away, around 9,000 only you can bring from outside at any given point of time. So it is very important to have capacity within the state. That is why we have these plants. Well, I was not aware that this is your first lecture, because normally when I am talking to young fellows, I expect a lot of interaction. I expect a lot of interaction. Rather, I mean, I would not like this to be a monologue that I'm saying and you are just nodding your head. Afternoon siesta session, and okay, I don't know how much is getting through. So if anyone, if you have any kind of question, any question, don't bother what kind of question is it, just fire it. Anybody? हाँ जी, आ जाओ, बोलो बोलो, तो बोल दो, बैठ के बोल दो. Industrial, BS and connections. Okay. It is, though it is categorized by our regulator, and we have been running fairly long time, so all this thing is already settled. But as a layman, if you consume power at your residence, then that is domestic consumer. If you consume power for any commercial activity other than residential, then that is NRS, non-residential supply. Now in NRS, it may be trading, it may be office, it may be a consultancy, or you may have small work tailoring kind of thing and other small such things. So that is all NRS. But if the nature of job that you do is industrial, then it is industrial. And in industrial we have further 3 subcategories: small power up to 20 kilowatt, medium supply up to 100 kilowatt, and beyond 100 large supply. That is at 11 kV. Depending on the demand, supply level also changes. So domestic and NRS at the lowest rung, they are served at 220 single phase. Then if you have 3 phase, then 415 volt supply is there. After 415 straightway we have 11 kV supply. That is HT consumers above 100 kilowatt. BS is a bulk supply connection. That is, if you have a housing supply, say if there is a campus, we have provided them one connection and further distribution is done by them. Then there may be some campuses, like if an institute is there, they are teaching also and they have residences also, like that. But bulk supply is not much now, not much. Primarily we have DS, NRS, AP and industrial. Anything else? Well, that's a very valid question. But how do we increase? Now, state has its resources. You see, you can have, like I have discussed, we have primarily 3 sources of power: hydel, thermal and NRSC. NRSC we are trying to increase like anything. Hydel depends upon your resources, they are very limited, and most of the potential has been utilized, and we do have certain pockets where we can have more hydel generation. We are trying, but that is not a large availability. Now, main availability that we can have within the state is thermal. Thermal power is I know you are all engineers, but if you see in comparison to hydel you have more capex, but operating cost is less. In thermal, your capital cost is medium, but your running cost is high. And if you see cost of thermal generation, about 2/3 of the cost is coal. Now, if you see coal, 2/3 of the coal is railway freight. So, about 45 to 50% of your cost is freight. That is a problem. Then, if you have a lot of thermal generation in the state, people are resistant to it, because there is, all fossil fire will become, will cause pollution. So people are not acceptable to installation of thermal power stations. So that is how we are constrained. If it was possible, it will give us more security, like you said. If I have zero ATC, but I have all my generation within the state, I don't need to bother. But unfortunately, we have to operate within the given constraints that we have. And right now, we are not able to find such sources. NRSE also, if you see solar power within the state and solar power outside Punjab, if you see the cost of power, it would be roughly in the range of 50 paise to 70 paise. The cost of land in state is high. That is another problem we have. Rajasthan, if you go, generation is also more and cost of land is less. So there they have their total generation cost is less. We are not having many windmills because right now it is not very suitable. But we have biomass is there. We have been trying to, as a state and as a country, we have been trying to utilize this paddy, straw and things like that. But still, we are not able to do that. But the cost of generation of biomass is very high. If you see the cost of typical biomass power, per unit power, I think if you see this year, it will be around 7 rupees per unit. It is very high. Very high. Whereas our average cost of supply, I would not say average cost, it may be around 663. We'll come to that slide when it comes. But if you see as such availability of power that we purchase, it is 4 rupees 50 paise. Average I'm talking of a bouquet. So depending upon the resources we have this scenario. What I'm trying to tell you is scenario. This is the scenario we have. Okay. Lot of you people, I'd like to request all of you that when you go to your jobs, please always carry your engineering mind with you. That is a typical problem you will face. You will go, lot of people, they are not receptive to new ideas. Everybody resists change. And young people like you who have new blood and new ideas, you must use your engineering skills in your job. That is how you will have control. I have served in this organization for about 36 years. And every damn new office you go, you need to prove yourself. As AE, as XCN, as SC, as chief engineer, wherever you go, you need to prove yourself. People would only respect you if you can prove to them that what you are worth. No, it is not your position, like it is said, that you do not demand respect, you command. You can only command if you can convey this message about your worth to the organization and to the fraternity. All your employees, they are part of your team, because you are all going to be officers, young officers. As officers, sometimes we have a feeling that okay, I have the authority, but like they tell us in management tools, authority never comes without responsibility. So you are responsible for them. If you want to be successful, you need to develop a team. Nothing succeed in this world but team. So as a manager, as an engineer, you need to develop your team. Act like a team leader. Then you will see you can do wonders. All human beings have infinite capacity to work. There is no limit. But we have to find the ways. You need to motivate them. You need to inspire them. You need to encourage them. And you'll be really surprised by the capacity to work they have. Though when you talk to a lot of people in the organization, you will always see there is shortage of staff. बंदे बड़े घट है जी, बहुत ही घट है. Everywhere, जितने भी तुसी दफ्तर च जाओगे, you will find this. That is typical. At one point of time, we were more than 100,000 employees. Though we are now in the range of 35,000 employees, we were more than 100,000 employees. 10,000 were always on leave. 15,000 were always agitating. And there were a lot of issues. So manpower, now because manpower is just, of course there may be situation when there is real constraint. But what I'm trying to tell you is that it is not the number. It is not the gross number of the employee that matters. It is the number of hard-working, sincere employees. That is important. It is good to have a zero than minus. If you have lesser number of employees, you can still find a way to do it. But if you have somebody who is only pulling the leg, then maybe things don't move. Things don't move. Next, please. Now this is another situation I wanted to show to you. This is our profile of demand. This is typical. If you see the first demand, that is megawatt profile, it is a bell curve. So we have demand for 4 months, and rest of the 8 months demand is very less. If you see on the right side, that maximum demand growth from 2012-13, it was 9,074 megawatts, and now we have, this year we have touched 15,325. Though we had installed capacity of 1416, that also was also not being utilized, but we have made short-term power purchase, and we have been able to meet with, this is the highest ever 15,325 megawatt that we have touched this year. Similarly, if you see growth of energy is there. Energy terms also, if you will see that energy requirement is maximum only during 4 months, and rest of the 8 months it's relatively less. That is typical demand profile that we have, and it is because of this reason that cost of power is high. Now I need to plan my generation availability, my transmission capacity, my distribution capacity, all my capacities according to the maximum power. But my utilization is only 1/3 period. 2/3 of the period, we don't even use half of that. Half of that. So that is adding to the cost. Though we do lot of demand side management. Our CMD who is working now, he's a very hard-working, intelligent and officer. He's been working on this. This year we have been able to even demonstrate, even outside the state, if you will go, people acknowledge our demand side management. Because Agriculture load is a type of power that we can play with. I can park my agriculture power during night. I can park it during evening, because we supply them power only for the 8 hours in one day. Rest of the all consumer are 24 hours. You have no control with them, over them. But agriculture consumers, we can manage, and that is how we have been trying, and this year it has been quite successful. Though there have been other reasons also. We have a government which thought of making zones of paddy cultivation. If I don't know if you are already aware, maximum demand is only during this season, because we have summers, lot of air conditioning load is there, and we have a crop paddy which requires water. Extensive water is used. Other than paddy season, we only give supply for 4 hours, 5 hours. But in paddy, we have a mandate to supply for minimum 8 hours a day. So paddy season or summer season, this is most crucial. Otherwise also, if you see from the point of operation, when there is heat, all your transformers, all your lines, they are at maximum temperature. Temperature is very important. Already, if you see, I have a design temperature of 50, say 45 degree, and 50 degrees there, and then current is also more. So all your current limits are affected by your temperature. Ultimately, it is temperature which is defining the limits. And in summer, you have even that margin is also not there. If you are running an electrical equipment in winters, maybe you will have margins. You can dissipate more heat. So the temperature of your various elements may be less. But in summer, even that is a problem. And that is when we need to have all our resources at peak. That is one issue we face, and you will also be facing during NUP. But what I wanted to convey is that these 4 months are very crucial, but because of such a demand profile, cost of power is high. That is another area. That economics is most important. I'd like to share with you. You may be a good engineer, you may be a good technocrat, you may be doing wonderful things, but if it is not economical, it won't survive. It won't survive. You see, when I was working at young level, like I shared with you, we had 100,000 employees. We had departmental working. All my employees were employees of Punjab State Electricity Board. We did not have any outsourced power. No outsider. Everything we will do within the house. But what was happening? And they were getting handsome salary. If you see, even today, though it is very unfortunate that new talent like you have to work on the same pay for 3 or 4 years, whatever they have put forth in your employment offer. That is very unfortunate. But still, when you will have regular pay scales, and you will still be better off than a lot of other people. If you see in private sector, pays were less and are less. So I'm talking about those times when pays were really good and number was also good, but they were not doing the work. I used to convince a lot of my staff members that please look after your organization. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ organization ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ you as new entrants, you have the highest stake in this organization. I have retired last year, but had I been working, I would have worked for 2-3 years. But you are going to be there for 30 years, 35 years, 37 years. You have the highest stakes. ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਧ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਲਾਉਣਾ ਪਏਗਾ. It is very important to understand. It is your company. You are the company. And you need to take care of it. If you will not, nobody else will. Nobody else will. everybody will have his own axe to grind, and they may have interests which may not be in the furtherance of operation of this company. There are a lot of people who would like that this department is wound up and it is given on platter to them. It has happened in generation, it has happened. Tomorrow, a lot of efforts are being made that it will happen in distribution also. Earlier, we never had this IPP business. We didn't have it. It was only started in around 2008. It's a very new concept. In 2003, though, there will be much senior people who will be coming to deliver lecture to you on this subject, but I'm just brushing that. Before 2003, we had a different scenario. In 2003, Parliament passed Central Electricity Act. Earlier, we were working under 1948 law was there, and we were working as an integrated body under State Electricity Board. But Central Electricity Act, it has provided an enabling provision to corporatize all such organization. But one thing it has done, which is really, I would say, it has affected us a lot. It has de-licensed the generation. Now you don't need a license for generation. Though now they are thinking of de-licensing distribution also. But right now, in the 2003 Act, we had before 2003, nobody could just decide and have a generation plant. But now you don't need a license. Though you need to fulfill certain requirements, that of course is there, but you do not require any license. Anybody who thinks he has money and he has resources, and he can have a generation plant. So after this 2003, only such developments have taken place. So now coming back to the idea. So those people, we used to convince them to take care of their organization. And when I became executive engineer, almost 75% of employees, my previous employees, they came to me for employment of their sons with the contractors. Father was getting 50,000 of salary, and son was doing same job with some additional job for 5,000 rupees. Because they did not take care. They did not take care of that organization. Like Abhiraj was sharing with you, I was working as chief near IT. We had a lot of young IT engineers, wonderful. Some of them, they were doing coding and things. But I used to tell them that you see, if we will not take care of this company, we'll be replaced. A new system will come. Even now, it is cheaper to throw all of us and find another company, private company, who will do all such jobs at a much lesser cost. Though there will be other repercussions. There will be other repercussions. But it will be cheaper. And somebody will, some bureaucrat sitting in Chandigarh, he may have this idea. Because a lot of people who want to develop a new business, they will go to him, they will explain to him how they will bring the cost down and things will be. So it is very important for all of us to take care of this company. Agli karo ji slide. Next. This is month-wise demand. Okay, because I didn't know this was first lecture. I think I will give you, because I do not have any slide, I'd like to share with you what is the structure of the company. Pata chal gaya? 10 ta kisne ko lecture ho gaya? So, okay. Now, Punjab State Power Corporation Limited, we have at the topmost decision-making body is Board of Directors. Board of Directors has whole-time directors and certain part-time directors, like any company. We are a company as per Company Act. So we have full-time members and part-time members. So Part-time members are representative of the government, from finance, from power department, and another person is there. But most of the members are whole-time members. In whole-time members, we have a chairman come managing director. Then we have a director generation who looks after generation. We have a director distribution who looks after distribution. We have a director commercial who takes care of commercial and HR function. Though we have a separate position as director HR, but right now nobody is working. So director commercial is holding the charge of director HR. Then after that we have a director finance who takes care of finance and accounts also. Then we have director administration who takes care of non-gusted establishment administration. Gusted establishment administration is mostly vested in HR department, that is as under director commercial, and most of the decisions are taken at CMD level. Chairman cum managing director we have. So this is the structure we have. So board of director, they meet maybe once in 2 months. Whole-time director, though they informally they are meeting, they may be meeting every day, but formally they meet once in 15 days to once in 20 days. So there are a lot of decisions. We have a conduct of business regulations. If you go to website, you will see PSPCL conduct of business regulations. In those regulations, we have 2 schedules. One is first schedule, other is second schedule. So first schedule has all the authorities and activities entrusted to board of directors. And in the second schedule, we have things which are taken care of by the whole-time directors. WTD we call them. So WTD takes care of that. This is how conduct of, and then we have a delegation of power. BOD has given various powers at different positions to the officers depending on their experience and position and requirement of the job. They have been given powers. So this structure of the company is there. We have a company secretary and we have our corporate office here at Patiala. So now I'd like to continue with my presentation. This is month-wise demand comparison of the 2 years. We have up to September. Like I said, highest ever peak demand of 15,325 megawatts was met this year, June 23. Normally, as per our experience, we were having this demand in the first week of July. But like I said, so what we have done, we have tried to manage. Now, like I said, AP load we are supplying for 8 hours. So when you have load for 8 hours, what is happening is when we were designing our distribution system, people thought, okay, this unit is only to, this load is only to operate for 8 hours. So we do not have a system that we can run that for 24 hours. We have limitations. So we have certain grid substation where you can run your agriculture loads, say 50% of your agriculture load for 24 hours. We have certain where you can only run only 33% of your load, that is according to 8 hours. And we have certain grids where we can run certain new grids. When a new grid comes, load is, we make provision for future growth. So there is a lot of margin is there. So there on such grids, it is possible for you to operate whole of your AP load throughout the day. It is possible. So we have utilized those margin to make demand side management in such a way. Another peculiar thing is happening now, like I shared, that a lot of stress is given on NRSE. We have lot of solar power and it is the cheapest. But it is infirm. It is the cheapest, but it is the infirm power. And even when it is available, it is only available for a part of day. Starting from 8 in the morning, you start having your generation. It peaks around before noon, carries on for 3-4 hours, and then it starts tapering down again. So by 4:35 in the evening, solar is mostly going. So this is scenario in our state. If you have other states where you can say that because of the difference in the movement of the sun, maybe half an hour here and there, they have slightly different timings. So ultimately what happens is from 8 in the morning solar is available, and by 6 it is gone. By 6 it is gone. So your cheapest source of power is only available for this time of the day. So I would like to run as much load during this time as possible. That is why it is very important. So what we are doing, earlier we were, lot of these farmers, they were coming to us, that we were giving them power mostly during night, because power at night was cheaper. And it happens in winters. Winters invariably during night, power is dirt cheap. You can get it for 1 rupee 50 paise. It is very cheap. So to use this opportunity to utilize our resources to bring down our cost of operations, what we are doing is we are trying to supply agriculture power during this part of the day. Though we are constrained by the capacity we have, we are trying to build on that. This is how we have done this year, and it has come out very good. So highest demand met, like I said earlier, we were facing highest demand during the first week of July, but this time we had June. Now another factor is temperature. Temperature, if you see, February, March this year had record temperature. They broke record of last 100 years. If you see power consumption of those 2 months, it will be very high. And April, May were relatively okay. And you have, if you see that percentage variation in April, May, you will see that this year we were relatively comfortable. So power supplied during 22-23 April, so it is okay. If you see 23-24, it is 13% less. May is also 16% less. June is again 6% less, and July, April. This is actually this demand, like I said, it is instantaneous demand. So we have some capacity to control it, and we have been able to do it this time. But main thing which you cannot control, or rather we never have any aim to control, is that MU. MU is a net sum of power demand during the 24 hours of the day. Power supplied is also less, and demand, if you will see, it is increasing. Though my energy requirement throughout the day is less, but still we have been able to manage to supply higher power by parking load during at a given point of time when it is suitable to the system. So April to September, you can see that energy supplied is 2% less, but still power supplied, we have been able to make it grow by 7%. So this is the highest ever supplied by PSPCL in the annals of the history. So overall, then there is another record, 3427 lakh units. That is energy supplied during a day. During a day. It was met on 9th of September. So earlier, previous highest was 3345. Again, it was in June, but this year it has happened on September. Then thermal generation has, from IPPs, has increased by 0.13. Hydro generation, because at the start of the season we have water levels in our dams, so hydro generation is quite good. It increased by 27% in comparison to the 22-23. BBMP generation increased by 7%. And we had another landmark, that Ranjit Sagar hydropower projects. It's a 600 megawatt hydro project. We have 4 units of 150 megawatt each. Again, it's a BHEL unit. Storage. It's a storage hydro plant. So we have been able to generate 157.89 lakh units on 23rd of July. That is its record since commissioning. It was commissioned in 2000. Now this is another banking. Though a lot of people working in the field, they have nothing to do with banking, but I just wanted to share this perspective with you. Banking is something that is very important to us. Banking means, like I said, when we have 4 months, when we need lot of power. 8 months, we have our resources that are stranded and there is no demand. So we can utilize this surplus capacity to generate during this lean season and give it to other people who need the power at that point of time. One very good example that comes to my mind is Madhya Pradesh. We have a very complementary load profile with Madhya Pradesh. Now our demand is going down, their demand is increasing. Very wonderful complementary profile we have with Madhya Pradesh. Then most of the hill states, they have lot of hydel generation during summer, but their requirement is less, being hill states. And in winters, more hydel generation goes down, but their demand is more because it is already a cold place. So they need heating. So their power demand increases. So we have Madhya Pradesh, we have certain hill states who have complementary load requirements. So what we do during lean season, we produce power and give to them. And during our peak requirement, we take from them. That is called banking. So we bank power with them. Now, if you see typical, I have not seen today's power report, but I think right now we are not importing much because demand. But there was one point of time we were importing as high as 600 lakh units in a day. And now after this month, at the end of October and November onwards, we will be exporting in banking. Through banking, we will be exporting. We have banking through traders is there. We have, what do you call? We are directly banking with the other states. And they also float tenders. Now because, like I said, when this ABT has come, a lot of opportunities have come for rates, power rates to vary. So any variation in the power rate brings an opportunity for somebody to earn. When you have a variation in the rates of something, it is an opportunity to earn. So such things, pressures are also building up. If you see exchange rates, now although we have relatively, our demand has come down, but rates have gone very high. Throughout the day, rates are very high. It is only solar power generation time, 8 in the morning, if you see, rate is something like 5 rupees. And then it touches 6, 7 till evening. After that, full time block, all time blocks you will see 10, 10, 10, 10. 10 we have a breaker. It is the breaker is there. In the power exchange, there is a limit. Earlier we were even purchasing power at 20 rupees. Then they had a breaker at 12, but now this season we have breaker at 10. So every 15 minutes cycle, power is at rupees 10, because they cannot go beyond that. Of course, that's a limit they are having. So most of the time, even during night these days, power is available at 10 rupees per day. Though if I will come to that, our average realization is something in the order of 6 rupees something, but we need to purchase power at 10. चलो जी, शॉर्ट टर्म पावर परचेज कम डाउन, टी हो गया. चलो लेट्स हैव अ टी ब्रेक. वो थक भी गए होंगे बिकॉज करते हैं ना. बट बिकॉज आई थिंक इट मे बी टू मच ऑफ information on the first day. If you want me to share something different, when we have a tea break, you can decide. I can go some other way because there's too much of data. Thank you. Let's break for tea.